Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Laravel Worldwide Meetup. Like always, we have two guests on. I have Nick Basil, who will be joining us in a minute. And unfortunately, Thomas Futubra couldn't make it at the last minute. So I had to find a solution. I tried to find like a last minute speaker. I only had like 1 hour or so to do this. And yeah, I was unable to find another speaker. So I decided, hey, I'm going to do something smallish myself. I've been working on a little package and I'm going to demo it as part of this meetup as a second talk. It won't be this polished, but I hope it will be fun. But we have the first regular speaker here, and I already got him on. And here is Nick. Hello, Nick.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. So excited to be here.
Yeah. I'm excited that you are here as well. And you're talking about, one of, a favorite subject of mine, how to extend certain things. So you're going to talk about Laravel, Spark, and JetStream, right?
Yep, absolutely. Going to get into the weeds a little bit and kind of look at how we can customize them to fit our needs.
Cool. Yeah, it are cool packages out of the box, and it's very nice that you can customize them as well. So I'm not going to stand in your way. I'm going to give you the stage so you can do your thing, man.
Alrighty.
Have fun. And we're going to share your screen, and here we go.
Alrighty. I see it's coming up there. Perfect. So yeah, today we're going to talk all about customizing Laravel, Spark, and JetStream and how to kind of make them our own and maybe adapt them to some specific use cases. Before we get too far, though, let me introduce myself. I'm Nick Basile. I run a digital agency called Market Square, where I'm so lucky to get to use Laravel day in, day out. I've been a Laravel dev since 2016, which when I type that out, that feels like such a long time, but it has flown by because of how awesome Laravel is in the community. Along the way, I've created some content around Laravel, Tailwind, Vue, then I had two kids and I made a lot less content. So hopefully they're a little older now and I get to make some more content for y'all and contribute more. A couple of years back, let's kind of go back to the beginning where this journey all started. I tweeted this out and I still stand by it. Just blown away by the flexibility of Laravel Spark, which is the sort of SaaS in a box toolkit for Laravel. And then JetStream is very focused on user and team management and scaffolding all that up for us. And I just started a new project and put both of those into the project. And in a few hours, I had just adjusted the default config to have no more personal teams. Thanks to Freck's awesome article, I set up team building. I had a freemium plan and I was skipping credit card collection up front, all the things that I needed. And so that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today. But I think it helps to kind of see a little bit what is the default flow. So where are we starting from? And then where do we want to get to? Like what exactly are we going to, how are we going to be customizing this experience? And so by default with Spark and JetStream, the way it works is a user registers for our application. A personal team is then created. They're not added to any plans on the backend. That subscription comes back as null. And then as a user invites others to their team, every additional user gets a personal team automatically and are then invited to the team. And so you can imagine a use case where, maybe a personal team makes a lot of sense. I think Loom as an app, the video app uses personal teams to great effect, but a lot of apps don't need that. And so that's oftentimes when I'm configuring JetStream, something that I'm doing right away is taking away those personal teams. And that's something we'll dive into. And of course, the freemium model is not supported out of the box, and neither is team billing. So we want to make sure we set that up as well. So for our desired flow, a user is going to register. They're going to create their team. They're going to be automatically subscribed to the free plan. And that's to call this out. This is a personal choice. You can do it this way. You can do it by just having them subscribe to nothing. That's up to you. But I like subscribing it. It helps reporting in my experience, and it helps the users kind of say, oh, I do have a plan. It's just the free one. And then when a user invites others to their team, we want to make sure that those users don't have that personal account. They're just joining the team that they've been invited to. So we're going to look at all this here and how quickly we can customize it. So what are we going to need in order to do this? Well, first up, we need a fresh Laravel project. You can do this in an existing Laravel project. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort to get up and running though. And so I really recommend whenever we're starting with JetStream or with Spark, you're going to want to make sure you're starting as fresh as possible. Of course, we'll need JetStream, and that's an open source package, so provided by the Laravel team, so that's not something we have to pay for. Spark is a paid add-on, so that sort of scaffolding and application is definitely something we need to pay for, so you need to make sure you have a Spark account. And then lastly, you're going to need a Paddle or Stripe account for your payment processing. We're going to use Stripe in this demo, but Paddle works just as well, and it's pretty much the same thing, so it shouldn't be that big of a difference. Now, what's the plan? How are we gonna approach this project? First, we're gonna set it up. Then we're gonna migrate Spark to team billing. Then we're gonna remove personal plans from JetStream. And then lastly, we're gonna add that freemium plan and remove upfront credit cards. So let's dive in. First step is project setup. So there are a million ways to start a Laravel project. This is my preferred way. This is the old Laravel new. Call your project name whatever you want. And then there are 3 flags that I pass in this case. Obviously, really important to get that up and running from the get-go, so I always pass that flag in. Jet will initialize a JetStream project, and then teams will tell JetStream to start a team scaffolding. So that way we have that teams from the get-go, which is really, really nice. It just takes care of all that out of the box, adds a model, and has you up and running really, really quickly. So that's where we're starting here. Next up, we'll install Laravel Spark. That is really well documented in the documentation. Like any Laravel kind of project, this is incredibly well documented, great docs out of the box. So basically the flow here is it's a composer package. So you're going to install that. You're going to need to add an auth.json file because that will handle your credentials. So you just need to add that. Make sure you read the docs all the way through. The first time I did it, I read like halfway, and then I was like, how do I add an auth.json file again? And I did all this digging, and they actually tell you the next line, the command you need to run. So make sure you read it all the way through once before you go and do it. But they're going to have all the instructions there for how you configure your composer package and add your credential to it nice and easy. Next, we're going to set up our Stripe plans. So in this use case, because we have a freemium plan, we're going to go and set up a free plan. Hopefully this is all in your developer context, and then you would copy this over to your production context when you need it. But we start with the free plan, and then I just have a test plan here. So the only difference between these is for the free plan, I set up 2 prices for monthly and annually or yearly, both set to $0, so it's free. And then the test plan, I add whatever pricing I want, and you can add as many plans as you'd like. But for this, we just need 2 just to see how it works. So that's all we needed. Once we have that all set up, we can go and bring our Stripe environment variables back to our project. And these, again, are listed in the documentation. But really, the Stripe key, the secret, and the webhook secret are what we're going to need the most. That webhook secret is really important because we do need to be listening for webhooks. So that way, Stripe can tell us all the important information it has. So basically, in Stripe, we set up the webhook. We grab whatever events are needed from the Spark documentation, paste them in there, and then locally when we're developing, we'll run the Stripe CLI. So you'll need to download that, install it through the Stripe docs, and then you can run this command here, and of course replace your project name with whatever you're using, and then you can just point it at the Spark webhook URL because that's already out of the box with Spark, and we'll be up and running and passing all that information through to our project. And last but not least, we need to add a link to the billing portal in our UI. There are 2 places typically that I like to add it. If it was personal billing, I would add it under Larry Laravel there and their profile settings. But because this is team level billing, I thought it made more sense to put it under the manage team section there. So that is where I added this link. This is just in your app layout file. You'll see all the links for these drop downs. Just copy paste, point it at the billing route, and you are off to the races. And so setup, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Hopefully there's nothing too crazy happening during that process. And now we can get into team billing. So again, the Spark docs are fantastic. They've got a whole section in there called the cookbook. And in there, they actually cover how to set up team billing. And what it's really telling us here is not just team billing, it's how to change the billable model for our application. So it could be team, it could be accounts, it could be workspaces, projects, however you want to set up billing. Basically, it's saying instead of using user as the default billing model, how would we change it to any of these other contexts here? So they're really, really flexible. it works for a lot of different use cases here. But let's dive into it. First thing we're going to want to do is customize the migrations. So first we go into the Spark service provider, which will be in our providers directory. We just need to go in there, add that register method, and ignore the migrations. So that way we're not running the default migrations that come with Spark. Next, we're going to publish those the vendor provided migrations. So that way we can go in there and customize them. So that all that command is doing is it's copying the migrations from the vendor directory and moving them to our migrations folder. And then we can adjust them. And there's two things we're really going to have to do. There's a Spark columns table, and that has a certain date attached to it, and it's pointing at users. So we just need to make sure that we change that to teams or accounts or projects, however we want to organize. And then we have to make the date a little bit, push it into the future a little bit so it's actually in the right order. But again, the docs really cover exactly what you need to do there. And then we need to replace user, which is the current billable model, with team in basically all the provided migrations there. So that's a pretty quick search and replace. Instead of user ID, we're looking for team ID. Instead of the users table, we're looking for the teams table. So that should get our migrations up and running. Next, we hop into the Spark service provider. So we were already in here. We added that register method. Below that, we're going to have a boot method. And that is originally configured to point at our user, because that is the billable model. And it's defined all these lovely relationships in there. What we're going to go and do is we're going to copy and paste this directly from the docs. They provide it for us and say, okay, now we're going to basically reconfigure all of these billable model concerns for the team. And again, that could be account, that can be whatever you want it to be, but team in this case. And then we can go and update our team model. So if you follow the instructions in the initial Spark configuration, it's going to have you set up your user model as your billable model. You can go ahead and remove the billable trait from your user and move it over here to team, because again, we're switching that context. And then the only other thing we have to add is the Stripe email method. So that way we're pointing it to the correct place here, because we don't have a concept of an email. You can add that certainly as a column in your team if you want to, but in this case, every team is going to have an owner, so it makes sense that we could point it straight to their email. Then we go into the Spark config, and under the billables array here, we're going to have a key of user, so we want to switch that over to team. And then for the billable model, we'll just change that from the user model to the team model. So that was pretty straightforward. And that covers everything we got to do. So again, nothing crazy, nothing complicated, really nice docs. And it will take us through that whole process there to switch to team billing away from personal billing. Now, this is probably the biggest section here, is covering personal teams and making sure that we're removing that concept as much as we can from the application. And I do want to call it right from the beginning. Freck has an awesome article on this topic here. So he really inspired me in my approach to this. Of course, we've diverged a little bit, but I really encourage you all to check it out because it's fantastic. And it gets a lot more into how you can customize JetStream and Laravel Spark and add them to an existing project, which is much harder to do. So it's a really great look and conversation about that. So really encourage you all to read it. But getting now into the workflow here in personal teams. So first up, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust the team creation. And so this is the create new user action inside of our actions Fortify directory. And before, what it's having us do, if we look at lines 31 through 39, we've got this database transaction, and that's creating a user, and then it's also creating the team at that same time, or like very close together. But it's creating the user, and then it's creating the team. We don't want that to happen, though. We don't want their personal team created when the user is created. So all we have to do is take all this logic out. We can get rid of that protected function, and we can clean up our create new user action a lot and just have it return the user here. So that's all we need to do for this. And then we can add some middleware. And the reason we want to add some middleware is we're going to want to direct people and users if they have a team. We want to make sure they can access the application. And if they don't have a team, we'll just send them to the create page. So that way they can go ahead and create their team and get up and running here. And so we'll add these in a moment when we get to our routes. But these are just going to make sure we're protecting both sides here. This is, again, following the wonderful article from Freck, but I did have to tweak this a little bit. I added the is member of a team method to the user model, which is a simple check. And then I think he had a helper method in here as well that I had to adjust and point it at auth user. But again, if you're following his guide, this is a really, that's kind of the only nuance here, and making sure that this could work as well. And then I changed my route name because of the configuration that I use. So again, just taking the resource, applying it to your own use case, and making sure that it works nicely. Then I added this initial team controller here. Basically, all this is doing is handling the logic and the directions for creating that initial team. So kind of following our classic create, read, update, delete controller here. We've got a create method up top and then the store method down below. First time I got to this, I wrote all the logic. I had my validation going up here, and then I had just the creation happening. And then I realized that in our JetStream actions, there's actually a create team action. And so I was taking a look at that. I was like, oh, let me just use the out-of-the-box action here, because it's actually taking care of all the creation, all the correct validation, and making sure that this logic is adhering to the JetStream logic in the application. So that was a really easy lines 18 to 21 there. Once I figured that out, I just had to copy and paste that in, pass it the user, pass it all the data from the request. And it was good to go. It's handling all the logic for me. So again, Laravel is going to take care of you as much as it can. You just have to look for those opportunities. All right, so then we got into our view component here. So again, I would scaffold this with Inertia and Vue.js. If it was Livewire, you could set it up appropriately. But basically, all I did was I copied the login page. Because this is happening prior to the user getting access to the application, I thought the login page made the most logical sense in terms of a UI paradigm. So started with the that component, added the form that I needed in here, and then this is where I deviated a lot from the article. I think in the article it was split into two different pages here, and there's some different logic there. In this use case, to keep it a little bit simpler, I've added some language here for, and we'll see an example of this in a second, for that user who's been invited to say, hey, if you were invited to join an existing team, just go and check your inbox for that invitation. So that way there's less confusion and less chance of user error here. But we'll see this in action here. And lastly, all we have to do now is come in and update our routes. So we had to add to and then wrap everything else in sort of that inside of that has team middleware. This is the way I like to structure it. You're welcome to add your middleware however you like. But the really important thing is that both the get initial team and post to the initial team create, those should be wrapped inside of has no team, because we don't want anybody who has a team accessing those routes. And then everything else should be, you want the user to have a team in order to access the application routes. So just make sure that you're wrapping everything in there. In both cases, though, we do want to make sure that a user is authenticated and verified before they reach any of these routes. So that's why I kept that top level middleware group and kind of broke it out a little bit lower here. But anyway, that should cover all of our cases here. And now what happens, we have Laravel, they come and they register, they create their team, they make the Laravel team, and then it's going to take a second because I slowed it down, and then boom, they're inside the application. So now basically what we've added is this middle step here, but we're no longer automatically creating this personal team. They have to come in here and explicitly create the team for their application. And you'll see we've got this helper text here if there's an invitation. So let's look at that use case. So we sent Tina Tailwind an email to invite her to Laravel's Laravel team. She's going to come in here and say, put in her information. So everybody needs an account to go ahead and get started. So she's going to create her very good account with a secure password. She doesn't have to create a team. Now she goes back to her inbox, hits accept, and she's into her dashboard now. There is a way to configure this. So that, I think that's a great first start. There is a way to configure it so that right here, when Tina is actually creating her account, you can pass, I forget the exact term, it's like a protected key to the URL, and it will automatically accept that invitation on create. You can configure it that way, but this is trying to follow as close as possible to the default out-of-the-box way it operates, and this works, I think, really, really nicely. So if you want to go that extra step, maybe that's another meetup talk, but you definitely can streamline this interaction a step further. Lastly, we'll look at Freemium and the upfront credit card collection. So really, to get rid of those upfront credit cards to make sure they don't pop up, there's a trial days option inside of the billables config inside of your spark.php file. We just need to make sure we remove that from the team. And then in the documentation, it talks about adding it to plans if we want upfront credit cards. We just want to make sure we do not include that inside of the plans, and then we won't have a credit card pop up anywhere during our authentication flow. So just make sure we've removed trial days as much as possible from here, because that doesn't really make sense with our freemium plan. If a user is logging in, they should get the baseline access to everything and be off to the races. Now, we had used that create team action before to when we had our create controller, our initial team controller, and we basically just want to modify this and add the logic for subscribing any new teams to their freemium plan whenever they're created. And the great thing about this action is this is now taking care of it during that initial team create, and also when a user creates a team later, because they can do that from that drop down in the UI. Whenever anybody is creating a new team, we're instantiating them as a Stripe customer and subscribing them to the default plan right out of the box. So basically lines 36 to 43 are what we've added here. Line 36, we're just going and we're grabbing the plan from Spark and saying, okay, we want the team plan where the name is free. And I think this returns the monthly plan right off the bat, which is exactly what we want. We could add more logic to this check here and maybe make it a little bit more refined, but that is going to take care of our needs here. And then under the hood, Spark is using Cashier. And so anything that we've added, because we set up the team as a billable model, we can actually use Cashier methods on the team as well. And if you're not familiar with Cashier, that is sort of the first party package for, I think, Stripe and Paddle integration directly if you wanted to make it yourself in the Laravel ecosystem. And so what we can do right here is we can just say, given this free plan ID, we'll subscribe the team to that. And a very cool thing, normally you have to pass a payment intent, but because this is a free plan, we don't have to pass that payment intent. They'll just be subscribed to it here. And so if we look at this now, we're back to Larry Laravel. He's looking at his team billing. I slowed this GIF down. The request didn't take this long. But you can see they're automatically subscribed to that free plan there. So that way they have that free plan instantiated. And I think from my perspective, this tells me a little bit more about the user. It's not that they have no plan. It's that they are subscribed to the free plan. And they can choose that if they want to ever downgrade. And I can do a lot, I think, cleaner logic checks on, okay, they are subscribed to the free plan, give them access to this feature set, and they're on the premium or the test plan, I can upgrade them to that next level. So for my developer experience, I like this a lot. Of course, you're free to do whatever you want to do, but I think this is a really nice way to organize your plans and have freemium working for you. And also from a reporting perspective, it does help, especially in Stripe, organize your data, and you can say, oh, these are all the customers with a free plan, and you can get that kind of reporting as well. So whenever I do a big project, I like to do a retrospective and really think about what I've learned. And through this one, I remember back when JetStream in particular, but also I think Spark were both V2 was rolling out at the same time as JetStream V1, and we were migrating from like a controller-based pattern, which I think the response to that was for Breeze to come out. And I was part of that party that was upset about that change because I've been so used to controllers and so used to how things were done. I didn't want to give the action pattern a big look. But through doing this project and seeing how useful it was to have an action for create new team, I've come to realize how amazing actions are. And so this deep dive really opened my eyes to that perspective. And now I use actions all the time in my projects. The other thing is I'm always reminding myself to look under the hood. I was really struggling to figure out, okay, how do I add a subscription to this team now? Because Spark is handling this all for me normally, and I wanted to go in and add this functionality to our application. And then I started digging the source code and diving deep there and saying, oh, this is all using Cashier under the hood. I can go look at the right Cashier method and be off to the races here. And that's exactly what happened. So as much as you can, if you get stuck, getting frustrated, just go start opening up files to the vendor paths, checking things out, and you're going to learn so much from the team and how they've configured things, and realize, oh, I can just use this thing here, and I'll be in good shape. And keep doing things the Laravel way. And lastly, JetStream and Spark, highly, highly customizable. I think whenever we're using like a package that bootstraps for us or is doing a lot of like really important features like team management and billing, there's always that nervousness, right, of It's going to be a pain for me in like 2 months. We need to change something, or am I really locking myself into this one way of doing things? And I do want to kind of give you some room to breathe there and say that both of these packages are highly customizable. I've been using them on and off for the last couple of years now, and in like 99% of cases, I've been able to find a way to customize them or adapt them to suit whatever needs the project is having. So they're both really, really customizable. And at the end of the day, they're all built on Laravel. So if I want to make a change, I'm gonna go and make that change because I know how to do that. So again, they're really, really customizable and really, really wonderful. So thank you all so much. That was the talk. If you have a moment, check out Markham Square if you ever need some Laravel help or product design or anything like that. We're here to help. And follow me on Twitter. I'm looking to create some more Laravel content, get back into it. As long as Twitter's still a thing, I'll be there. So go ahead and check us out. So I think if we have any time for questions, we'd love to answer.
Normally we don't have any questions here on the stream itself, but there might be questions in the chat, so check that out
Sure.
in a few moments. Yeah, I really liked the talk, and I agree that it's amazing that all of this wonderful software can be so much customized. Certainly, if you just look a little bit under the box, you discover so much. And yeah, like you, I really like action classes. Also use them, yeah, basically everywhere. If there's like something that can be reused, or even if it makes it easier to test something, then I also already use an action for that. So yeah, such a simple idea and so good. So yeah, Nick, thank you for this presentation. Was really well done. Congrats, man.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, see you around online or at a Laracon, perhaps.
Hopefully, one day we'll get there.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, normally we have now the second speaker, but yeah, Thomas couldn't make it, so I've prepared something myself, but it isn't as well prepared as Nick. So I've been working on a little package, and I think the 30 minutes before this this meetup, I took some time to make a little demo application, and now I'm hoping that the demo application will work. Let me first do a little bit of window management here, because I got a lot of screens here from Ecamm that you probably aren't really interested in seeing. I'm also going to open this before I share my screen. I don't need to see myself here. Going to move that a little bit out of the box, out of the way, and then I guess we're ready to show my screen, and I can do that with this little button. And let's maybe check if you can see it. Yeah, I guess that you can see my screen here. If there is anything wrong, let me know. I'll check the comments. So the one that I've been working on lately is a package called Laravel Prometheus. And for those that don't know Prometheus, let's first explain it a little bit. It's actually quite simple. So Prometheus is a sort of data store where you can send metrics to. Just generic metrics about everything in your application. It can be something technical, like how many jobs are there in your queues, or some businessy kind of things like how many users have a subscription. And with that data in Prometheus, you can use other software to use that data to create graphs around it, or give you insights about it. And one of those pieces of software that is often used with Prometheus is a thing called Grafana, which I'm pretty sure some of you have heard about. So how it works on a large scale is that Prometheus will receive, or it will pull in data from your application regularly, and Grafana will visualize that. Let's take a look at the home pages of these pieces of software. Prometheus, yeah, powerful queries. So yeah, you can, it's a data store, a very powerful data store, a very fast one as well. And Grafana is used to make graphics and help you understand all of that data. Now, when creating this package, I had like two goals in mind. The one is that I wanted to make it very easy for people that use Laravel to send stuff through Prometheus. And the second thing that I want to make very easy is to make people comfortable with setting up Prometheus and Grafana, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I get what's a good word for this? Like a little bit anxious to set up like new things, like getting into configuration hell and stuff like that. And with stuff like Prometheus and Grafana, which are very big pieces of software, it can be a little bit confusing on how to set this up. But if you find your way, it's actually not that difficult. Where am I going to go next? Maybe I should just open up my little demo application. So I've created a demo application here. Let's see if there's nothing here in the comments. Okay, so I guess that everything is good. So I've already installed the package in this project. So if I take a look here, we should have Laravel Prometheus set up here. And when you install the package, it will actually create a service provider in your application. So this Prometheus demo app is basically just a vanilla Laravel application that I've prepared just a little bit. So I've already installed that package, and this is the service provider that gets published when you install the package. When you want to send stuff to Prometheus, then you can just call or use the Prometheus facade and call add gauge on it. Gauge, it's one of the data types of Prometheus. In Prometheus speak, a gauge is something, a value that can go up or down, and that is like the most common data type in Prometheus. So you can give your gauge a name, and then you can give it a value. Why aren't I returning here the value directly? Because sometimes it can you can have there's some work needed to determine that value. If you want to, for instance, export your user count, and the easiest way to do that is this, and import this. Then again, of course, you don't want to have this user count being executed on every request to your Laravel application. By wrapping it into a callable, we will only execute it when Prometheus will visit your application to get this data. That's why it's a callable here. And you can basically export any data that you want. There are a couple of options here to add labels, to add help text, but I'm not going to go through that because I don't want to talk too long about this. It's all documented. So that's one way to use this package, to just add your own gauges. And the other thing that is built in the package are what I call the Horizon collectors. And what this does is that it will export all common things from Horizon, like is Horizon up, how much processes are there, how many jobs are there waiting per queue, and export that to Prometheus. I'm going to demo that in a bit. Let's first maybe put this back, and let's maybe talk a little bit about how this data is sent to Prometheus. So let me open up this application. So if I open, And what the package will do is it will register an endpoint called Prometheus. And here you can see all the exported data in the format that Prometheus expects. So here's my demo gauge, and here is the value. And what we are going to do is we are going to push this data in a bit to grafana.com so we can visualize that. Now, let's maybe talk a little bit why we want to visualize like Horizon data. Because yeah, you can already see the amount of jobs in Horizon, right? So if I go to, this dashboard, Horizon isn't running, so let's maybe start it. Split down, and I'm going to need another one, so I'm also going to split down. So I have 3 of these. So let's start Horizon here. So hopefully this works. Yeah, I've got 4 queues here. I'm going to dispatch some jobs here. So let me get the command here. So I've made a command to just dispatch some dummy jobs to these queues to just have some numbers. So let's execute this. So now we have some stuff here, and you can see that Horizon is just happily tugging along. But this doesn't really give you like too much information. Sure, you can see how many jobs there are, but you don't see like any trends, like how many jobs were there yesterday. Is it normal that at this point in time that there are this kind of amount of jobs? So you don't have like any historical values here. That's why you want to send them to Grafana. I've made a couple of screenshots from the Grafana instance of Odir, which is the uptime service that I'm running. And we use Prometheus there, or our Laravel Prometheus package to visualize the trends of our queues. I'm going to start with this one. And yeah, you only can see like a couple of lines here. I've removed like the numbers here and the queue names here to keep our operations a little bit secret at Odir because it's a little bit sensitive. But what you should know is that every color on this graph is a queue that does some kind of work. And you can see that some queues always have a jump, and some queues, because uptime checks, they need to be performed regularly. You can see that that they go like in a nice rhythm, you know. And if you see like this curve here, which could be like an uptime checker for, let's say, all uptime checks that need to happen in Amsterdam, we see like it's the same amount, so it will probably be okay because this is like the regular heartbeat of the application. I've got another screenshot here for 12 hours, and here you can immediately see that there was something going on at this time. Just by looking at the trends, just visually, you can see there's something strange here. So that's also like a good reason to visualize how many jobs that you have. I also got like here one last graph here, 7 days, and this shows like I call it a little bit the beating heart of our queues. You can see that it really has like I'm getting a little bit too philosophical maybe, like there's like a breathing or a heartbeat going on. So these are the statistics of an entire week, and you can see that except for this one and some stuff here, it's very regularly, so probably the queues are very healthy. Okay, let's take a look at how we can create such graph for any application. We're going to create a graph for this application, and bear with me. I've only had like 30 minutes to prepare this, so I hope everything will work here. So what we are going to do is that we are going to send the amount of queue jobs to a hosted Grafana instance. So I've talked a lot about Grafana and Prometheus, and you thought, hey, maybe I should install it myself. And sure enough, you can install it yourself on your own servers, but you can also use the Grafana hosted service, which has actually a quite good free tier as well. Now, I'm not being paid by Grafana or anything like this. This is my own opinion. In our documentation, we actually documented on how you can do this. So for the self-hosted, there are instructions on how you can install Prometheus and Grafana on Laravel Forge and which configuration you should have. And I also added these instructions for grafana.com on how you can create an account there, how you can pick like the hosted Prometheus. And we are going to use something called the Grafana agent in this setup. So the Grafana agent is like a sort of daemon on your machine that reads that Prometheus endpoint from your Laravel application. So I probably should make this clear. The Grafana agent is a piece of software that you install on your server, and it will just read the data from your endpoint and it will send it to the hosted Grafana. So you need to have like an API key, which will be created here. And then you need to configure that Grafana agent to crawl your application. So I added instructions for that as well. So what I'm now going to try to do is send the stuff from my application to hosted Grafana. So I've already set this up, and to get to this point, that's all documented. So I'm going to launch Grafana here. Let's try it out. I have a dashboard here, fake dev dashboard. You can see that I already did some tests here, but let's not look at that. Let's take a look at the last 5 minutes, and you can see there's no data here at all. Now, this is a little bit the tricky part. I hope that this will work. I think I noted the command here. So I already installed the Grafana agent on my Mac, and I already added the relevant configuration here to read the Prometheus endpoint from this application and send it to the hosted Grafana. So I can start the agent with composer start, or I'm going to do it here. Composer start agent, and hopefully that works. Should type in my password here. Okay, so now this piece of software will continuously read this endpoint and send it to Grafana. So if I refresh here, hopefully I get some data. I don't get some data. Sometimes it needs a minute. Here we are. So Q1 and the other ones are hidden here. There's nothing there. Now we are going to add some jobs here. So we added some here. Let's maybe add some more. And this was something I was unable to do on the hosted Grafana instance. So on hosted Grafana, it seems like the refresh point here is 1 minute. Although I've configured the Grafana agent on my Mac to push every 10 seconds, it only displays it here at every minute. Now I've also installed Grafana for Odir on an own server, and there I have like a 5-second interval even. So I have really granular data, but here we'll have to wait a little bit on new data coming in. Here you can see it. So on Q4 on this minute, there were almost 2,000 jobs. here a little bit less. And the next minute we are going to see that, because jobs are processed, that it will go down again. So let's maybe wait a little bit on that. Let's see if there's anything in the comments for me to check out. I should check this one. Yeah, nothing here, so I guess everything is good. Let's refresh here again. I don't have a next data point yet, but we're getting close, I guess. And if I take a look here, then you can see here the number of jobs going down that are being sent to Prometheus. Let's refresh here again. Still no minute further, but I guess now we're at a new minute. So let's hope. Yeah, and here you can see jobs have been processed. So after a while, you're really getting a nice trend here of how your queues are doing. Let's go a little bit back to my demo here. After a while, you get graphs like this. So yeah, that is basically how easy it'll be to just send stuff like your waiting lines of Horizon, like how many jobs there are in the queue, to something like this. Now I've only use the queues here, but you can send any kind of information to this. So user counts or subscriptions or stuff like that, you can graph them in here as well. Let's maybe just for giggles add like another kind of tile. So I'm going to add a visualization here. Here I can choose the type of widget. And what you just saw was a time series, but I'm going to do something else here. Let's maybe do a stat here. And let's see what other kind of things our package exports. Maybe recent jobs here. Let's run the queries. Yeah, this is the amount of jobs here. Why is it red? Probably because I can choose a threshold here. Let's maybe a little bit bigger so it gets green and a little bit more friendly. And here we have then the amount of jobs that are in Horizon. So you can put a little title, recent Horizon jobs. Yeah. And this is how you can build out your own dashboard. Grafana is insanely powerful. You can add alerts for this as well. So if there's like a queue that is getting too much jobs, you can send let Grafana let you send a notification. So it's really powerful stuff. So yeah, I think that is everything that I wanted to show you about this. I think I've made it as easy as possible to get started with this. Now there's maybe one more thing. I haven't released this package yet, so maybe it would be fun to just release it here together with you, because it's stable, it works. I'm already using it in Odir and in Flare, so everything's good. So let's maybe do the 0100 here, initial release. And then I can publish it, and then this one is released as well. Now there's maybe one more thing that I want to show you now that I have you here. I've just mentioned that we use this in Flare as well. I'm going to give you like a little scoop here. I haven't talked about this on Twitter or any of social media today. But we've actually today shipped the new version of Flare. Let me log out here because these are my projects. So Flare is like basically the best exception tracker for Laravel applications. We've made an entirely overhaul of the UI with new features here. It is, I think, quite amazing. Tomorrow, we've launched it today, a soft launch. Tomorrow, we are going to push it on Twitter. You have the scoop here. We took a lot of effort in making this a beautiful homepage and application. You can see here that we have like some lovely translucency going on. And here, this is basically the best way to present a screenshot, I think. This is like a really nice animation. Oh yeah, I like that. Now I don't want to go too deep into this. You should explore it a little bit yourself. The one thing that I'm going to say about this is something new that we added is a hobby plan. A lot of people were asking for like, how can I get started with Flare? But yeah, for one project, is there like a cheaper plan? Well, we now added that cheaper plan. So if you want to give it a go after the trial, then you can get that hobby plan. So that is basically everything that I have for you. Let me check if everything is stream as well. Uh-oh, we can't see. Oh my God. Sharing a browser any than the desktop. I don't know at which point I've lost you. We are stuck on the Grafana points. Let me back it up a little bit. My screen here. Oh. This is locked, I guess. This is unfortunate. Like this, and then like that. I guess it should be working now, no? Can you see this screen now? Let me just try. You know what? I'm not going to try to do it again. I'm just going to, I think, maybe record like a proper demo of this that I can show to everybody. It's a little bit unfortunate that that screen froze. I apologize for that, but I'll just record it again so you can see it and make that part of the documentation. The important thing is head over to spatie.be docs Laravel Prometheus and just check it out. I'm pretty sure if you want to visualize your metrics, you're going to like this package a lot. So that is everything that I have for you today. I hope that you like the show. Next month is July. It's Laracon US then, so I'm going to take a little break from this meetup, but we will be back again in August. Thanks again, Nick, for your talk, and apologies again for the technical difficulties at the end, and see you at the next edition. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.